What is up, everyone? Howard here from Growth Velocity Academy. Hope you're incredible. So, how can you avoid making a $180 million mistake? That's a big mistake, but it happened to this one company I want to talk about today, and I want to talk about 3 tools that you can use to avoid it. So, what are we here talking about today? Well, a few years ago, there was a bit of a scandal. There was a band, a music band, were traveling across the US, and they were sitting on their airline. They were flying with United Airlines, and they're sitting on the plane, kind of chilling, waiting for the flight to take off. And one of the guitarists looks out the window, and he saw that the airline kind of packagers were throwing their guitars across the tarmac, right? Imagine you're sitting on the plane, you can't get off the plane, your prize guitar, you're a musician, is being thrown from one person to another person when they're unloading the baggage. And guess what happens? You see the guy drop your guitar. Throws it from one person to the other, and they drop the guitar. Now, the plane took off and they were sweating, and when it finally landed, when they got their bag, you could imagine what they were thinking, waiting for the bag to come around. And they had a gig on that night. You can imagine when the bag came along, they opened up the bag, and it was their prized possession. Their guitar was broken in bits. Now, at the time, the band members kind of went onto Facebook and stuff, emailed the company, United Airlines, called them, and they got the standard stock response. Oh, please see my terms and conditions and all this kind of stuff. When you're trying to approach a company, you just hear nothing back. They were frustrated. So what did he do? Well, they were musicians, so they had a bit of fun, and he created a song called United Breaks Guitars. And it kind of went viral. Now, this is a few years ago, but I recommend at some point, not during this video because you'll miss the rest of the story and the lessons here, but afterwards, just Google United Breaks Guitars, and you'll see that there's a YouTube video with like hundreds of millions of views. And it became really famous. And the band created a song. They got back the way that they could because they couldn't go back to normal ways. And this this music video started going viral. And it started racking up thousands and millions and then millions of views. And next thing, it was on the news, right? Probably about 5-6 days later, it hit the news because it got so big. And at that point, it was, the saying, the horse had bolted. At this point, finally, only after it hit the news did United Airlines realize what happened. But by that time, it was too late. And United Airlines had one of the biggest PR disasters in recent history, certainly in related to kind of like the internet. And it was really famously, this thing happened. The mistake that cost United Airlines $1.4 billion in one day. And it's really talking about how the United Airlines team did not know this was happening until it was way too late. Until basically, it was already in the mainstream news. And at that point, it was just way too late. So how do you avoid that? As a company, as a marketer, if you're an entrepreneur, you don't want it to happen to you. And if you're a marketer in a business, you should be the person that knows what's happening first so you can tell your company and stuff, right? So how do you avoid it? Well, really simply, you avoid it using something called social listening tools. Okay, social listening tools. And there's a couple of them. I'm going to recommend 3 tools that you can use super easily. And it essentially listens for you on the internet. So if anyone mentions your name, your personal name, your company name, one of your products, whether it be on social media or someone writes an article about it, you get notified the minute it gets published. Because can you imagine if that was the case, if United Airlines had actually done that, they would have known about this thing really, really early. And who knows? Who knows if they would have responded, but they certainly would have been able to have the choice to respond early. Once they started seeing that this was gathering a little bit of momentum, they could have reached out to the people, and chances are they could have kind of killed the story quite quickly, or certainly managed the story. It certainly would have been a different outcome, and it wouldn't have been the big mistake that it became. All right. So what are the 3 tools I'd recommend to you to get started with early? And most of these tools are completely free to use and simple to set up. Well, the first one and the easiest one is Google Alerts. So Google has its own kind of listening tools that are completely free to use and very easy to set up. If you just Google the words Google Alerts, and you can set up a number of alerts to monitor for certain keywords. What kind of keywords might they be? So for example, if someone mentions your company, mentions one of your products, or mentions your specific name, these are all things that you really should be keeping track of. And the great thing is it is free to use. So this is like I would say probably the leading kind of listening tool. It's so simple. It's completely free. And really, there's no reason not to use it and every reason to use it. So that's the first of the tools. The second is one called Hootsuite. Now, Hootsuite aren't the only people that do this. There's a lot of other social media listening tools that do this, like Sprout Social do it, Buffer do it to a degree. Hootsuite personally has always been my preference. Again, you can use this feature free in Hootsuite, and it's really, really powerful. And you can use this like not only for, again, your product names, your company names, things like that, if anyone is talking about on social, and particularly the difference between, just to be clear, the difference between Google Alerts and Hootsuite is that Google Alerts will focus on web stuff on websites, whereas Hootsuite will focus on social. Okay, so that's the key difference there. And there's smart things you can do with the Hootsuite one as well as just monitoring for your own company name. So for example, if certain people name drop certain keywords, so I'll give you an example. One time I was flying from US to London, and Virgin Atlantic lost one of my bags. And I went onto Twitter and I tweeted, I think of Virgin or maybe even Richard Branson. I kind of went, it wasn't Richard Branson. I tweeted to Virgin saying, guys, terrible customer service, delayed 7 hours and lost my bag. Within minutes, a company from the Netherlands tweeted me back going, hey, Howard, I see you had a delay. Did you know you're eligible for €700 worth of compensation because of this EU ruling? I didn't know. Fill out this form and we'll take care of it for you. So can you see what happened there? They acquired me as a customer through social listening. I signed up I got my compensation through them. That's obviously their business model. They make money somewhere. I don't know where. But essentially, they use social listening to acquire me as a customer. So this social listening stuff can also be done as a bit of a kind of, I don't know what you might call a growth hack, I suppose, to acquire customers. So Google Alerts was one, Hootsuite's the other. And then there's a third one I'd also recommend, which is Mention.io. Mention.io. Now, Mention.io, the difference between Hootsuite and Google Alerts is for web, Hootsuite is for social. Mention kind of does a bit of everything, and it goes a bit deeper. Mention will go into like forums and things like that. It goes quite deeply, and it also has analytics attached to it. Now, you can get Mention.io for free, but like a lot of the power in it comes from the paid version. So if you want to get a little bit more power, Mention.io does everything in one box, and I think it's pretty good. So guys, hopefully that's been useful. What I wanted to cover in this video was how to avoid a $100 million mistake like United Airlines did. And you really do it through using social tools and web listening tools like the 3 I just recommended. I'd love to know what you learned from this session. And if there's anyone else you know that would find this session valuable, this video valuable, please either share it with them or tag them in it now. Peace out, guys, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.